Oh my, what is going on, guys? It's Raul here. We're back. We got a new disc. We're going to be doing a new disc review for you today. It's the Andrew Presnell Tour Series Swarm. He got the bump up to the elite team, I think they call it, when he won the Champions Cup, so that's pretty cool. And he got his name on a new disc, brand new disc to the Discraft lineup. And I think this is the first actual release of it outside of the test flights. But yeah, it's that same Jawbreaker Z Flex plastic. So it's got a little bit of give, not super stiff. It's not super gummy, but it's definitely got a bit of give right out of the box. I haven't thrown this yet. I've seen videos. I know it's super beefy, but yeah, just for a in-hand feel review, it's very flat on top, pretty much board flat, not really puddle, not really any dome at all. It is very rigid on the sides, almost like a Mutant, except like it's flat on top and then kind of rigid on the top part of the rim, but then on the bottom where it goes down, it's got a little like concave, so it's not like completely rigid like the Mutant, but it definitely feels like kind of boxier and more rigid than any other Discraft disc I have thrown. It looks and feels wider diameter than a Zone for sure, and the rim feels faster, so it probably goes further, you know, on some ante lines and some backhand flex lines, but it's very overstable from what I've seen. This is going to be my first throw with it, so let's just see how it goes. I'm also going to compare it with, I have a Recluse in the bag and a Cayman. The Cayman's definitely going to go further and straighter than this. I think the Recluse might be similar. I would do the Zone, but my Zone like isn't even a Zone anymore. It just goes straight, so I don't want to do that because it's not really going to be a good comparison. But yeah, let's give it a go. We're going to throw this thing little bit of hyzer out there first and just see really how overstable it is. Pretty much flat to hyzer, and just yeah, get a good feel. Let me make sure this audio's on. Got a dog walker, a little warm up in. All right, never mind, I'm not gonna throw it at that tree. I'm gonna throw it out there and let it hyzer out. So here we go. That was a good throw with it, and it is very overstable. I feel like that went nowhere. Threw it out on hyzer. It got a little lift. We got a little right to left wind, but yeah, it just went straight. Hyzer dumped straight down. That thing is super overstable. Does not want to go anywhere. So if you like to throw Discraft and you're bagging a Zone, but you feel like you need something more overstable, and even maybe more overstable than a Buzz OS, that's it. That thing is beefy. That's probably the most overstable approach disc that Discraft has, actually, except for the Zone OS, which no one's throwing anyway. That thing goes nowhere. So I have this first run Pinnacle Recluse that right now is my beefy overstable disc. So we're gonna compare these two, and then I'll throw the Cayman too, just to get like a comparison of something a tad straighter than like, this is kind of like your very overstable mid. Yeah, so even with the Recluse, I felt like that flew a little bit compared to that Swarm. That Swarm literally went nowhere, I feel like. I probably went like 215 feet. That is like the Zone OS of mids. Just very dumpy, doesn't want to fly. Curious how it handles the forehand torque. Now I'll just show you the Cayman for comparison. And there you go. The Cayman's an overstable disc, don't get me wrong, but on hyzer it typically pushes around 270 to 280. Thrown flat, I could get it like 300, 310, but that Swarm I feel like went nowhere near it. So it's definitely a different utility slot. All right, so surprisingly, the Swarm actually did get pretty close to the Recluse, and I did throw them on pretty similar angles. The Swarm was a little bit shorter, so as I expected, it did fly a little bit shorter. And yeah, I think I hit them pretty similar. So I would say it seemed more overstable when I threw it. They are pretty similar in terms of how they flew on the backhand. The real big difference on these two discs here, they feel relatively similar in the hand. Flat across the top, have a rigid top edge, and then come down on the side, like kind of concave. The only difference is the Recluse has a big bead and the Swarm doesn't. And then the Cayman pushed way further. If you throw a Cayman, you know it's still pretty overstable, but these two are in a different class. So yeah, if you don't like the bead, then you might like the Swarm more than something like the Recluse or a Justice. But yeah, let's try to hit them on some Anheuser. We have a left to right wind, so I'm curious how they fight out of it or if they'll hold. I think this thing's gonna fight out of it right away, so. Try to give it some good angle here. Oh my gosh, that is overstable. So if you're looking for a low ceiling, tight flex shot where you pretty much throw it at the ground and it fades out of that, comes back and skips, then that's what that disc is good for. That is ridiculous. I thought I threw that into the ground and it just came back, swooped back and skipped back left. I want to see the replay coverage of that because that was actually insane. I thought I threw that disc into the ground. So we got this Recluse here. We'll try to hit it on that same angle. That's wild though. We got a tail left to right wind, so the fact that that came out of that is pretty nuts. I really committed to that angle. So look at that Recluse fight. That Recluse is a very overstable disc, and I threw it hard on Anheuser and it pushed for a while, and then at the very end of the flight came out of it. But I think I put that Swarm on even more angle because it was headed towards the ground and came out of it right away. The Recluse was a little bit higher and it pushed for a while and then faded out, although you could see it coming out the whole time. This Cayman, if I put it on Anheuser, it will hold. So I'll show you what a normal overstable mid does in comparison to those two discs, especially the Swarm. Cannot believe how fast that came out. Yeah, so I put that one more left and a little less angle because I knew if I put it on the same, it would just burn into the ground, and a little bit more height, and it just held the whole entire time and then faded out or even just landed flat at the end. So that just shows the difference between the Swarm, the Recluse, and the Cayman. I'd say the Swarm and the Recluse are pretty close in flight for the backhand at least. I'm curious on the forehand, but for the backhand, they're pretty close in flight, and then the Cayman holds for a while. So, and that's a pretty stable Cayman too, so it's not super beat in or anything. So that just really shows you how overstable that Swarm is, how fast it came out. So yeah, that's how they handle on the Anheuser. Now I want to see how that forehand goes. All right guys, so again, the Swarm went shorter on that one, but it did fight out very well, so it's definitely reliable. It's not going to burn over. It's always going to come out on that backhand line. The Recluse actually went far compared to it because it held the turn for a while. The Swarm literally came out right away, so that was kind of crazy. And then the Cayman was just pushed on Annie, so it was the furthest, and that's exactly what I was expecting. So now let's see it on some sidearms. I got that tree out there. I'm not sure how far it is. It's just more so an aiming point. I'm gonna try to put all of these on a touch of Anheuser and see how they come out. We got a head left to right wind, so this is perfect. So I'm just gonna act like, you know, I have to keep it flat, level, put it on a little bit of Anheuser. Let's just see how it comes out. In the hand, I'm not gonna lie, to me, it's not the best feeling for my forehand grip because I don't know, it's just very rigid. It feels kind of deep to me, like I don't get a very comfortable sidearm feel. So I'm guessing I probably won't bag it for the sidearm, at least for the backhand, depending. If it's a windy round, I might toss it in there. But yeah, let's just see how it goes on those little sidearms. So I'm just gonna try to cook it over a little bit. That was actually nice. I still feel like it went nowhere. I hit that angle perfect though. Perfect, low, flat. or low level anhyzer, pushed over, but came out very soon. I think the Recluse, this is one of my main forehand discs. It feels a little bit better in the hand, very flat. I don't know, something about it, it just feels super comfortable. So I'm gonna try to hit it on that same line, and let's see if it pushes over for a while or if it fades out early. See if we can hit it on that same line though. Yeah, so you can see the difference right there. I threw that disc higher and not as much angle, and it still pushed over to the left, faded out. and never wanted to burn over or anything because it's a Recluse. It is very overstable, but compared to that Swarm, it's straighter, even though it's my most overstable mid in my bag. Now let's just get the Cayman for reference. It's probably just gonna hold over and land flat. Yeah, it just held over and burned over the whole time. So, I mean, the Swarm could have a utility use in my bag. The only thing is my bag, I have very dialed right now, and I don't have any discs that I would particularly want to take out for that disc, because the Recluse fills that slot just fine. If it's a windy day, then maybe I'd add it instead of, I don't know, something. But it's very overstable compared to the Cayman, and even compared to an overstable Recluse. It just wanted to come out right away. I have seen, like, if you're not getting clean spin with it, it might burn over a little bit, but I threw all those sidearms pretty well and it just fought out right away. So I'm very impressed with the overstability of that. Alrighty, well that's a wrap, folks. Just a quick review of the Andrew Presnell Swarm. It is very overstable, definitely the most overstable mid in Discraft's lineup. I'd say it is the mid-range version of the Zone OS. It really does not want to go anywhere. This thing is very overstable, more overstable than my Recluse. I don't know if that's the most overstable Recluse out there, but I know it's overstable because I do throw it a lot and I rely on it. And this thing is like overstable max. Like, I throw it hard and it fights out. It feels like it's almost too overstable, doesn't fly, but if you need it for those shots that you just need to get down, then it's gonna be good for that. Or if you wanna flex it over and get it down under some trees by cranking it on Annie, then it's gonna be good for that. So that's it, that's the review. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.